That's plenty. Look at that wand. It hums with the inner source. Ugh, it's been cursed.
You made it all this way.
He trembles and seems to shudder with a quiet sob.
I'm cursed, you know. Bloody Brachus bound me here to protect his vault. He has my soul in that jar just there. As long as the jar stays unbroken, I can never truly die. I don't rightly know. This was the Source King's way. Befriend you, then destroy you. I was a fool to expect I'd be an accept. His favor was intoxicating. That's no excuse, but it is the reason. Really? You would?
He drops to his knees before you and grabs onto your feet with both hands.
Thank you.
A soul jar rests between two fallen columns, emanating a faint odor of seaweed and timber. When you touch the glass, your vision wavers. You emerge on the prow of a fine ship. Your armor pulses with enchantment, dominating those who draw near. Your flag flies for Brachus Rex, a tyrant who traded for your soul. With his power, your flesh and blood is no longer relevant. The vision fades as the soul thrashes, trying to sever your connection. To be soulless is a horrible, empty fate. You seek out Brachus's vault, but the moment you reach the soul jar, he ensnares you. Thus imprisoned, you can only dream about what is out of reach. Your soul and that alluring armor. The vision shatters as the soul squirms away from you, curling up in the bottom of the jar. The soul jar pulses with trapped life force. What remains of the outraged soul molds itself into a defiant skull, glowering at you before it vanishes.
Snake! Worm!
The jar before you may have looked opulent once, but no longer. Now it's covered in grime, its paint chipped away, and its jewels long stolen. The soul jar rocks slightly, light flashing from underneath its lid. On its rim, you can just barely make out the name Gratiana. As soon as you touch the jar's cracked surface, you see a vision of splendor, silks, fine food, and decadent lechery. But under the vision shifts. You see burning villages, slaughtered women and children. You see her, purging wand in hand, standing amongst it all. She throws her head back and laughter echoes in your skull. A shadow falls across her, and you see a large, weeping face. She reaches out as if to comfort, but Brachus drags her back. You see her fall into the mire of the swamp, trapped. As you pull your hand away, you can feel a deep, longing sadness in your soul. Is it regret, or just sadness for a life that used to be? Gratiana's soul flits through the air, eyes wild and desperate. She turns to you as her spirit starts to fade from this world.
Wait, but I'm not ready. No, you can't. No!
The terrible vision fades.
While she lived a selfish life, she seems to have repented. She should be forgiven.
Whatever a person may have done in life, they can always be redeemed. However her life began, it ended well. No one should be damned because of their youth.
This jar glitters and glows. From within, you think you can make out the distant sound of laughter. With a jerk, your mind is pulled to a scene in a tavern. You see a dwarf in the center of the room, joking us all around roar with laughter. All bar the zombies, who are slavishly serving food and drink. The door opens, and a tall, beautiful woman stalks into the room. She's flanked by heavily armed guards. You can't make out her words, but see the fear in the dwarf's eyes. The dwarf mutters a word, and the undead lurch towards the intruder, but are cut down like wheat. The dwarf tries to run, pushing her friends into the woman's path, but is grabbed before she can escape. As she's dragged away to a tower, you hear her cursing Brachus Rex and his whore. Even when she's thrown inside and the door sealed, you can still hear her shouts. You pull your hand away from the jar, your head swimming. You can feel the dwarf's cold terror still twisting in your gut. The jar shatters like glass, but a spirit rises from the shards like smoke. The ghost of a dwarf bedecked in necromancy.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
The vision
I just
fades.
wait.
I've rarely seen such cowardice on display.
Keeping the dead as slaves? What a disgusting display! She deserved every punishment she got. Being locked in a tower was more kindness than any necromancer deserves.
The jar on the plinth before you seems ancient, but is in surprisingly good condition. It's covered in pictograms that you can't understand, but you're sure you just saw one of them move. The pictograms spin to life, and you're dragged into a dream. You see the lizards of the ancient empire turning their backs on you, casting you out into the wilderness. As you roam, the human apes turn away from you, all but one. One smiles, one opens his arms, one says he'll take you home. Brachus Rex. He promises power, for a price. He picks off your golden scales, one by one, stripping you down to the bone. He promised you a crown, but all you got was shackles. You try to fight, try to reclaim what's yours, but a woman takes you by the hand and leads you to a tower. He promised he'd take me home, you cry. You are home, she smiles as she seals the door. This is where you belong. Your hand drops away from the soul jar, your skin prickling. In the back of your mind, you hear a small, scared voice whimper before fading to nothing. You see a shape emerge from the ruins of the broken jar, a lizard in the finest necromancer robes. It grudges.
Farewell to flesh.
The
Farewell.
long-dead lizard's visions fade.
This is the price of pride and greed. The villain got what he deserved.
No amount of loneliness excuses wickedness. He helped a monk. What he did shames him.
The soul jar stands on its plinth, glowing softly. From within, you see, or rather, you feel, a far-off land. Frozen breath hangs in the air, pine needles brush your cheeks, and in your arms you can feel a weight. A body, dead. But you have hope. Your vision swims. You're older, but perhaps not wiser. You march at the head of a shambling host, the enemies of Brachus Rex melting before you. The scene twists again. Now Brachus stands before you, a beautiful woman at his side. You lash out in treasonous rage, but cold arms bind you. You're sealed away in a tower. Your screams fill the darkness. You feel a jolt and open your eyes to see the soul jar before you, lying still in the vault. Your hand falls from the jar and grips the pillar as you try. A human spirit slips from the ruins of the jar. Decked in necromancer robes, she...
My eternal thanks, young one. Oh, timely death.
The necromancer's memories fade to black, but the feelings remain.
The memories of a necromancer. What could be more vile?
Anyone who marches at the head of an undead host deserves whatever punishment. One must wonder how many more lives they took, how much more misery the...
The deity's head and hands are missing, severed as if by a sword. You can't tell if this was meant to be symbolic somehow, or a mere act of vandalism. As you take in its chiseled details, you have a vision. The statue comes to life and embraces you awkwardly with its broken arms. Unable to resist, you're flown away into an endless dark.
That shrine seems to have brought me here. What is this place?
Quackus, where are we? No leaves, no trees, no soil. This is horrific! Aye, the giant takes notice of its charges.
The helmeted figure before you slowly turns to face you. He raises his weapon, a great ethereal sword, and rushes forward, ready to strike you. The figure plants a foot before you, raises his sword, and commands,
"Fight!"
The figure charges you head on, ready to plunge the sword into your chest. As he charges, he suddenly evaporates into the ether, passing through your body. Deep, dark cold blooms in every particle of your body. The figure materializes behind you and grabs your head with one hand, pressing his sword to your throat with the other. If you so much as breathe too suddenly, it will slice your jugular with ease.
You are my champion? How I wasted my efforts saving you as the ship went down. Why should I do as you say? You were so easy to best. Not all our enemies are of the flesh. You will have to do battle with as many specters as men if we are to survive.
He lowers his sword, releases you from his grasp, and turns you to face him.
I wonder if I've made a mistake in you. Recognize me. You are my champion, and I am your god.
He lifts his visor. Two deep green eyes fix you in their stare. In an instant, you know you are speaking to Ralik, god of all humans.
I had to test you, to know if when I chose you, I chose well.
I see a spark in you. The beginnings of a fire that may blaze our path back to preeminence in Rivellon. This is why I've chosen you, to lead humankind back toward divinity.
This is why you are my selected, my Godwoken. Let me show you.
A great surge of power arrests your heart, your mind. When it passes, you feel ecstatic, replete.
You may have noticed I've tried to help you on your journey. I blessed the water beneath your feet so that it would aid you. Now you have the power for yourself. And this is only the beginning. More and greater powers await you, if only you will seek them. Only one like you can wield them. One marked for greatness. One who can either rise to this great task, or let his people fall to ruin. Capability is learned, so too experience. What I need is not the wisdom of experience, but the fire of potential. This I see within you. Above all my many children, I hope I am not wrong. Your purpose will be great, but the first step is simple. Escape the grasp of those who would do you harm. You and you alone must safely leave this place. You and you alone must rise above the reach of minor people.
Ralik visibly bristles at the mention of your companions.
I am not the only of the seven seeking a champion, my child. Your friends may have been similarly summoned by powers that threaten the very existence of our race.
He casts his gaze over the war below, where God fights God in a relentless, bloodless battle.
Times have changed. The gods are at war. The victor will choose the terms of peace. If we fail, if you fail, our race may well be lost. A father knows when he may trust in his children, and when he must intervene. I know that you will succeed, if you choose it. Do not disappoint me.
Blessed branches, we've returned. Every second we spent in that hellish place was a second the great acorn drew closer. Interesting. You thought it was interesting, Quercus? Do you know what's interesting? Watching an entire world be strangled by the roots of doom, seeing the giant races fall like leaves in frost, hearing the screams of... I don't know what you're talking about. I am perfectly calm. Anyway, as interesting as that cold hellscape might have been, it does not solve our problem. We are here to stop the great acorn, not hide from it. What is the shield barking about now? Of course I won't be doing it alone. You're right here with me, Quercus. We shall do it together. The fate of the world depends on our ability to research a spell to protect Rivellon. We need to travel across the land, gathering clues, experimenting with different magics, and come up with a spell to shield Rivellon from its doom. Of course, for us to do that, we must avoid being eaten by the servants of the Great Acorn. And that is where our big, foolhardy shield comes in. Grand Nut! It's the Great Acorn! Quercus! Quercus! Savage the wretched giant for... No! I am not going to share our magic with it. I don't care how much you like it, Quercus. Very well, I cannot give it magic, but I can teach it how to forge one spell, if it will keep you happy. One!
The squirrel reaches out, touching your foot with a delicate paw, and you feel your mind open. You can see the forces of magic and see how to combine them in a new way.
There. Maybe now your pet will have a fighting chance. Yes, yes, you're welcome. But can we please get on and save the world now?
The deity's head and hands are missing, severed